I'm Justin Davis, and this is Drone Camps RC. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Justin Davis. Today we're going to do FPV news because there's all kinds of new stuff coming into the shop, little tiny components that I really want to show you guys from a bunch of different companies that came in. And we also want to talk about other things happening in the FPV community. There's a lot going on right now. It's fall and it's approaching the holiday season. Hopefully you guys are getting out there and flying some packs. It's not as hot lately, so it's been really nice to run our FPV systems. I don't have stuff overheating quite as bad as in the middle of July. It's kind of crazy when you're running 600 to 800 milliwatt and it's 95 degrees outside. It's almost impossible to do it without it overheating. But now is a really nice time to get out and fly, and a great weather for that before it turns to the rainy and the snow seasons. I know it's already snowing up in Minnesota and the northern states, but today we're going to talk about some of the things that are going on in the community. We're also going to share with you some of the new products that I have here on the bench and talk about what's been going on lately. So kick back and relax. This is going to be a nice video to give you an idea of what's going on right now. This week has been a very interesting week for me. I've seen a lot of, it seems like this week everybody's kind of coming together, embracing each other in a lot of different ways. I've seen some probably some of the nicest conversations on Facebook recently. I haven't seen a whole lot of trolling, and everybody seems to be in a pretty good mood this week, which is really awesome. Maybe a year ago, there was a lot of bickering, and everybody's trying to be the smartest guy in the universe on Facebook or in social media, on YouTube or whatever. But things are kind of falling into a good place right now, and I feel confident that everybody's kind of doing their own thing on each different channel, which is awesome. So with that said, I want to say thanks to UAV Futures. Stu, for example, great guy, and I really appreciate what he did for a friend of mine, Zoe Fpv, in California. She recently had some issues with her funding, and her funding has really taken a turn for the worse in the last couple of weeks. And if you know anything about Zoe Fpv, she's been flying since, before a lot of us were. So she's been doing it a long time. She's also a female that wins races against the guys. So she's a kick-ass pilot, and she is into this as much as anybody I've ever seen in the hobby. She really puts her heart and soul into making videos for you guys, sharing vlogs, and helping new people get into the hobby, and most recently doing some emceeing at the Southern Oregon Throwdown, the West Coast Throwdown, which was really impressive. Being able to get on the microphone and just freestyle during an event is kind of a skill that's a learned skill, and it seems like she just jumped right into that. But my point is that Stu helped her get her GoFundMe campaign up to where it needs to be. She had a $2,000 goal in there. Long story short, she is losing her apartment right now, and if you've ever tried to make your passion your job, it's extremely, extremely difficult. I'm almost in 5 years into running now, and running my Patreon in the very beginning wasn't a big priority for me because I was doing a lot of other stuff on the side that brought in income. Now I'm trying to make it more of my full-time job, and Zoe is also trying to do that as well. And it's extremely hard to make your passion your job. And the other side of that is that she does have some health complications, which is putting her in the hospital all the time, and she doesn't have a means to hold down a full-time job like a regular person would. So very important for us to support her. And I think Stu did a great job at just making a short video yesterday or a couple days ago and adding her GoFundMe link in the description. So if you want to look and check out her goal, she's already reached her goal, but I just want to make it known out there that you guys can click on that, and if you feel like it, you can donate $1, $5, whatever you want to donate to that cause, because I think it's a good thing. She is a kick-ass friend, and She's one of those people in the hobby that just, it wouldn't be the same without her. And if you've ever met her and hung out with her at some of the races, you can tell right away that she's in it for the long run. She's not one of those kind of people that just get in and get out. I've seen a lot of come and goes in the hobby. I've seen people come in and really come in with a lot of energy and then leave really quickly after 6 months or something. So she's in it to win it for sure. Multi-GP racing and vlogging, her YouTube channel and everything else. So I think that's wonderful, and that gives us a really good feeling for the community that you guys are helping all of us succeed. It's all due to you guys' support on all of these channels. And I don't have to name drop. You guys know who they are. Bot Grinder, for example, has done wonderful on his Patreon. He's starting to get ramped up for you guys' support, and I think that's wonderful. I had 2 sponsors, well, 1 sponsor on my channel for 2 months, and just recently they dropped off, which is a total bummer, because it really was putting me up there in that income on my Patreon that was really starting to make a big difference. I was above 1,000 a month, and that was awesome. YouTube doesn't pay that much, so it was awesome that that I did have a sponsor for a couple months. Maybe they will come back in the future. It was the Skywatch guys, but I'm hoping that someone will sponsor again. That would be awesome. But the sponsor level dropped down to, I'm around $700 a month at this point. So that's actually really, really good in comparison to some of the other channels that are asking for Patreon money. So I'm thankful for every single dollar that I do have on the channel, and I'm trying to give a lot of this stuff back to the community as well. I was told by Patreon that I wasn't allowed to do giveaways. I don't know if someone like narked on me or something, or said it was some kind of raffle thing, or you're not allowed to pay Patreon to have a chance to win something. Kind of crazy, but that's the way it goes, and you have to play by the rules. So now I'm just pretty much relying on the fact that people enjoy the videos and my tutorials, and all the help and reviews and honest reviews are kind of a value to you. So I want to say thanks, an honest thank you for every bit of support that you guys are giving me, and really does mean a lot. And every time I see one little tiny email that says, hey, you got a new supporter, $1, that's awesome. I have way less than some of the other channels out there, but I'm just going to keep doing my thing, and hope that people find value in that, and I will keep the channel going somehow. And we're gonna do that for you guys. And my passion has not dropped at all for the hobby. I'm as passionate as I am now as I was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and flying RC airplanes as a kid. So I've always been around the RC hobby. So I'm just one of those people, and I just can't stop doing it, and I'll probably do it until I die. But today, it's kind of an awesome day, and I want to say thanks to everybody out in the community that's helped me, that's helped Zoe, that's donated to Joshua Bardwell. He does a lot of work in the hobby, and somebody asked me the other day what I thought about Joshua. I think Joshua Bardwell is a good guy. I think he really means well for the hobby. Same thing with Stu. Stu does a lot of work behind the scenes to make those videos, and as all of us are, Mr. Steele, you know, we could talk about so many people that are making a difference, and it's entertaining to see their videos as well. So keep supporting them in any way that you can, and as well as some of the unknown pilots out there that are trying to come up in the hobby as well. Some of the smaller YouTube channels that are starting to come up in the hobby, like Gal Kremer, for example, I believe that's his name. He's doing a great job on his channel to bring up and support some of you guys just getting into the hobby, and some more technical videos as well. So definitely some pretty awesome stuff that he's doing. And also Ledrib, I want to say word to Ledrib, because his videos are also really entertaining. His vlogs are very good, and his flying is phenomenal. I don't know if you've ever seen his freestyle flights, but some of the gaps he pulls off is just like crazy because it's a one-shot deal, and if you don't make some of those gaps, you destroy a quad and break arms. It's crazy. So I got to give a shout out to Ladrib. Awesome stuff there. And I got to give a total shout out to everybody that watches the channel. If you're watching the channel right now, I got to give thanks to you. It's like FPV news / thank you to everyone. Just thank you. So thanks to everybody that has been supporting me and everybody else. I know I'm rambling. There's just maybe a lot of good feelings and emotions that are coming out of me this week. And then sometimes that happens on the channel, man. I get on the channel and I ramble about how awesome things are, or maybe some life changes that are happening. So today is a good day, and it's kind of reflective. But let me go ahead and talk about what's new on the channel. A lot of cool stuff. A lot of little stuff is coming in this week. We do have some more quads that are sitting over here as well. We're going to talk about those in the future reviews, but today we're going to talk about some of the little stuff that's coming out from all these different companies. We have something new here from ISDT, and I never had one of these before, but these are super awesome. If you're looking for like the ultimate cell balancer, this is the BatGo, and I believe I had one of these on the channel before, but I'm going to unbox this one today and show you guys what this BatGo is all about, because this might help you out keep your batteries in check, and especially with your cells and your battery. If you're brand new to the hobby, you're just getting into this, you really need to pay close attention to balancing and balance charging your batteries, because you could have a house fire, and that's definitely not a good thing. I've had friends that have actually burned their houses down because of these little guys right here. So very important that you keep your batteries balanced and the voltage proper in them, and don't abuse them while you're flying them. The next thing we have new is something from Dowell RC. I've got a couple things here from them, and this is the Rocket 4-in-1 ESC, which is a super slick looking, this is I believe it's BL Heli 32 actually. So BL Heli 32-bit ESCs, and those are actually 45 amp to 50 amp bursts. So this guy is good for 3 to 6S, it says. So if you want a 6S 4-in-1 ESC, this is the Rocket from Dowell RC. We'll take that little closer look at that coming up as well. And we also have the F722 dual gyro flight controller from them. This is going to be a super awesome F722. We'll take a little closer look at that as well today. And we have some new stuff from AKK, also one of my favorite companies that makes awesome VTXs. Video transmitters from these guys are awesome. They were the guys that made the 1200 milliwatt 5.8 transmitter that came out about 6 months ago now. And in the US, anything over 1000 milliwatt is technically illegal. So yeah, they don't want us flying anything over that. So they actually made a few new ones to sell in the US that are 1000, right at the edge of the limit. So we're going to take a look at what's new from them. I also have something sitting here on the bench that's new from Tattoo. So I want to say thanks to everybody over at Tattoo for sending a couple batteries over for testing. This is the Funfly 4S 1300. And what is special about the Funfly battery is that there are a whole bunch of economically priced 4S batteries for race quads coming out recently, and the Funfly is one of them, and it's around $18, which is kind of crazy. It's crazy because it's a 100C battery. 2 years ago, if you had anything that had super high C rating on it, even though it wasn't a graphene, it was still a $30 battery. So we're getting to the price point now where the prices on batteries are starting to drop a lot. This is half the price of what they were a year ago, and this is labeled as a beginner battery, but I think 100C is really legit for anybody getting into the hobby. If you're running 100C on a race quad, this is a good battery, because last year a lot of the standard Tattoo batteries were 75C. So nice to see an upgrade and something that's half the price. So I think that's a really good buy right now. You can check out Tattoo's link down below. I just flew this on that little AR mini wing the day before yesterday on the channel. So a really awesome battery, no sag in that. And that's going to be recommended from me. Now we also have something new from Harvey, and I want to say thanks to Harvey from Dowell prop over at foxear.com. You can check out the new Cyclones. They just came out. They changed the packaging on here, which is kind of cool. They had a little dark rainbow on here, and these are labeled the T5249C props. It's a 5-inch race quad prop. They come in different colors. It looks like I have the sort of lime green here, which is a cool color, and red. So these are going to look super cool on a new build coming up on the channel. We're going to build something new. I have some new kits coming in, so look forward to more beginner build videos. I'm going to show you guys how to build some race quads. That's always an awesome thing for you guys to see new gear and see how to build it. It's not super difficult, but some people do need help. So we also have some new stuff from HGLRC, and HGLRC has been around for quite a long time in the hobby. They started out making ESCs, started making flight controllers, and now they make motors, and they make full 5-inch race quads as well, even some brushless micros that are super awesome. But I have an Airbus F4 right here. I have 2 of those to show you guys. This is the Airbus S4, and then I also have an F420 stack. This is F4M3 flight controller with a 4-in-1 BS20 Amp Esc on this one. So super nice. It's all in this one little tiny box right here. If you're looking to replace an entire stack in one of your quads, if you have something go out or you burn out an ESC, 4-in-1 ESC, just grab one of these. This is super easy to just resolder up one of these, and pretty much you've got a brand new quad in a box right here. That's really nice. Also, we have this. This is the 4-in-1 BS35 amp Esc, and this is awesome that it comes in this little box right here. These little boxes are super useful for bolts and small stuff later once you do use this Esc stack. This is a 4-in-1 Esc. It also includes the wires for the XT60 in the very bottom of the box and the XT60 connector. I talked to somebody recently that was doing a build, and he had a problem because he got an XT60, but he didn't get the wires. If you're brand new to building, it's pretty important that the company includes the wires that go along with it, because finding the right gauge wire is difficult for somebody new getting into the hobby. And it's really nice that HGLRC includes those wires with the 4-in-1 Esc. Also, you want to be super careful when you're soldering these up, guys, because you don't want any of your tabs to bridge solder over to the next tab over, because you will have a short. Be sure to use a smoke stopper. You can find those on Amazon.com for like maybe 10 bucks. You plug it into the end of the XT60, and in between your battery and the quad, it'll have a light on it. If you have a short somewhere, it'll let you know. That's one of the most important things about building any race quad. And I also got some super cool little PDBs here. They're including LED strips on here, and they have all the connections for the LED strips. We're going to take a little closer look at that on the bench as well. Really quickly, I don't want to go too far into these, but these are really nice, and I did suggest to Fitz, my friend over at HGLRC, to send me one of these to show you guys. Those are awesome. Yesterday also, DJI released something on their Twitter feed, and we took it into Photoshop. If you want to check that out, if you're a DJI guy, go back to the video yesterday and check that out. That is a super cool little image that they put up that we were able to change the levels on and see what was actually in the background. They're doing some like stereoscopic, like 3D camera attachment on the bottom of, or on the very top of the new Mavic 2, and it's going to be used for industrial use. You're going to be able to do like 3D mapping. I would love to see like real-time 4K 3D video come to the drones. Instead of having a rotational model, it would be super awesome if they had some type of 3-dimensional real-time video. Wouldn't that be cool? I haven't seen that before out there in the industry yet, but maybe in coming up in the future, that's what the future of drone video is going to look like. Some 3-dimensional video. Maybe something that would be like VR, that we could put on some goggles and look around in real time. Wouldn't it be cool to be able to stream something like that live over the internet for the whole world to watch? Also, and getting back to Patreon a little bit, I have some other stuff over here that I wanted to show you guys. I am now able to use my own stamps on my thank you letters, and I actually do send out thank you letters to $6 or more Patreons, and I send a little sticker pack out to you guys I invested some more money into this, and one of the things that I did was I got this little thank you stamp. So now I can stamp the back of the letter with a thank you on there, and I'm handwriting these letters and sending out to you guys. So that's kind of cool to get a handwritten letter in the mail these days. Nobody really writes handwritten letters anymore, but I do for my Patreons. And up in the top left corner of my envelopes now, I have my own special sort of Drone Camps RC company return address stamp. And years ago, when I was working in my job in the 90s, I got with a startup video company, and I remember the first day that my boss got in his official stamp for the company. It was kind of like we had made it at that point. It was kind of a cool thing to get your own company stamp. It was like a very special thing. He was really excited about it, and I remember that. And I'm excited to have my own now for you guys. So you're gonna expect some cool stamp on your envelope if you do become a $6 or more Patreon, and I send you that personal letter. I also took the opportunity to run over to Best Buy because last week they announced the Gopro Hero 7, and they announced that sort of I forgot what it was called, the super stabilized mode on their hyperlapse or something like that, hyperflow. But what it does is it's kind of like a gimbal. So it makes all of the movements really smooth, and we can use that. We can turn it on for certain freestyle flights and make a really smooth freestyle flight if we want to do some slow flow type stuff. Or you can turn it off and really show how much vibration is in a quad. If I'm doing a review for you guys, I can turn that off and you can see an honest to goodness flight characteristic of a quad. But a little bit scared to put this on a 5-inch quad and lose it, but I do have insurance on it. But you have to find it. That's the key thing about the insurance, though. I'm not allowed to completely lose it. They won't give me a new one. But I do have a 2-year warranty on this, and this is going to be a good upgrade for the channel. And hopefully you guys enjoy the quality of the videos coming up on the channel. So I want to say thanks again thank you to the Patreons that are helping me acquire these type of goals. This was bought with Patreon money. So I want to say thanks to everybody. You guys are helping me upgrade the video look on the channel, and I'm continuously pouring money back into this channel. So thank you for that. But let's go ahead and look at the first of all the new swag that's coming out this week, and I'll put everybody's link down below from each respective company here. Great companies doing a lot of work for you guys behind the scene and constantly working on new things that come out. Let's go ahead, and I know it's been out for a while, but we're going to take a look at this Bat Go anyway on the bench, and this might be something you might be interested in, and then we'll show you the rest of the stuff here on the bench. Here we go. All right, so here it is. This is the ISDT Bat Go, and like I said, I know this has been out for a little while, but I just got this, and some of you guys haven't seen this before. Let's just go ahead and take the plastic wrap off of it and show you what this little guy's all about. We can use this Tattoo Fun Fly sitting over here for our battery. Whoops. It says Smart Battery Checker, Smart Cells Voltage Balancer. So it also does voltage balancing on the fly for you, which is super cool. I believe you can discharge with this little guy too. See if I can get in there without getting a tool to get in this box. I have no fingernails. Come on, baby. I can just, come on. Doesn't want to come out of there. All right, I don't want to resort to violence here. All right, there we go. ISDT makes really cool stuff. You get some stickers, that's kind of cool. Some different type of Bat Go stickers down at the bottom. These are cool for your goggles or something like that. Revolution, they're always talking about a revolution. I don't know why, but that's their tagline. The working voltage is from 5 volt to 36 volt. Input voltage up to 15 volt. And they have input voltage here twice. Input voltage 2 to 8S. Input voltage 1S at the very top there. 0.8 volt to 15 volt. 2 to 8S from 0.8 volt to 4.8 volt. Battery cells 1 to 8S. So it looks like it does an 8-cell battery. So pretty crazy. You've got your balance port right here, your guide. You want to always do the negative side first when you plug these in. If you plug in your balance lead, make sure that black side of it right here is all the way over to the negative side. You can't really plug it in wrong, so they have these little teeth grooves right here that will stop you from doing that. It's Chinese on the other side. Let's go ahead and pull this out of the box. So fire hazard, first thing I see here. Peel off this mask. Warning, fire hazard. Before plugging in input source, make sure output voltage range must be within operating voltage. So pretty important that you don't put something too big on this thing. They're telling you not to do that because you'll have a fire. And you can't even start playing with this thing until you read that and peel it off. I don't know if that's stuck right down to the top of this thing. There we go. It's coming right off. So we have some control buttons here on the right hand side. This looks like probably the menu button in the middle. Up, down arrows, make your selection here. We have that balance port over here on this side you can plug the battery into. And then we have an XT60 connector right there, which most of our race quad batteries already have. Over here on this side, this might be a firmware update port. The USB port there, and it looks like we have the USB port over here on that side, full size USB. ISDT back go. This is called the BG8S. So let's go ahead and plug in a battery here, and it's going to come on. And notice that you don't see anything right away. If I only plug in the XT60, it's going to show us our cell balance once I plug in the balance lead. So I'm going to start over here on this left side, and I'm going to put the negative side all the way down just like this. Okay, and now you heard it beep, and it's telling us individual cell voltage, and right now it should be balancing unless I have to start that process myself. 16.7 volts, 10 millivolt. It's a 4S and 97% in the tank. That's kind of cool. It looks like a little gas tank there. So let's go into the menus. That middle button gets me into the menus. I can go back. That's the main screen. USB charge. So I can do some USB charging with this if I wanted to charge my phone from this LiPo. So the voltage will go this way through your USB cable and charge whatever device you want in the field. That's kind of cool. We can do cell balancing, so it doesn't automatically start balancing your cells, which is also kind of cool. I wonder if you could set this up to do it automatically. So we're going to start that process. Now it's balancing out. And these cells are only a little bit out of balance there. And you see that number 3 right there? That's the one that's out of balance mostly. So it's working mainly on number 3. And it does look like it goes dim after about 10 seconds. So you can see there the time elapsed, the current tank amount, and the amount that's being used, I guess, 10 millivolt. That's pretty cool. The up-down arrows don't work while you're balancing, but we can push that again. Low voltage alarm, 3.3 volts. The battery type is a LiPo, and it looks like we can change that to HVs. Cool. Lion and LIFE. We're just going to leave that on LiPo because that's what it is. The alarm tone, we can change it to single or off. Let's just do single. Single sounds better than repeating. If I'm across the room and it's just continually beeping while I'm doing something, that would be annoying. So cell balance, let's go ahead and stop that. And I do have a USB cable for my iPhone, so let's hook this thing up to my iPhone and see if it'll actually charge my iPhone. That would be kind of a cool thing in the field if you could use just any old LiPo battery to charge your phone if your phone is dying, especially for DJI pilots. But nobody wants their phone to die these days, so let's go ahead now see if there's anything else in here. Oh, there's more stuff. Lots more stuff. Receiver tester, that's awesome. PWM or S-Bus, so you can hook a receiver up to this guy. That is pretty cool. That might be all the channels on your S-Bus. How cool is that? PWM, most people are not using PWM these days. That means you have to hook up every single servo lead to your, yeah, that's not even something you want to do. PWM is really old school. So I'll go back to that main menu, go back up again and show you guys what else is in here. System information, volume. I'm going to turn that down to low. That sounds better. Maybe, yeah, low sounds good. System information. This is your current firmware, 1.0017. That's pretty cool. Does it have any more information up and down? Nope. It just takes me back to the main menu there, and we have backlight. We can make it even brighter. Middle or low. Low would use a lot less energy running it from the battery, because the battery is running this little interface, the OS on here. We have language, so tons of different languages there. I'm just going to stick with English so I don't screw that up. And that looks like that's about it for all the functions on here. That is pretty neat. So definitely worth the investment to get one of these, and make sure your batteries are nice and healthy. It doesn't seem to take too long. Still looks like it is working. It looks like I did lose 1% of my capacity since I've been running this. So let's go ahead now and go to the back screen, and I'll let that finish up, and we'll go ahead and check out the charge port on the other side here, the USB charge port. All right, so I've got my USB cable. I'm just going to go ahead and plug this in to the side, and we're going to stop this process. It looks like it's already done, just about done. That's pretty cool. So let's go ahead. That was stopped. Okay, so we'll do the USB charge, and that's cool. It shows us the volts, amps, watts, and how much in cells. So let's go ahead and plug that into the iPhone and see if it actually works with my device. All right, it came on. That's cool. Let's check out the top of the phone here to see if it is charging it. That's awesome. That is really cool. Man, that is definitely a useful device. I didn't know that I needed one of these, honestly, because most of the time I'm just usually cell balancing with my charger. Sometimes I do it the quick way and I don't actually cell balance while I'm charging a battery. Definitely not recommended for anyone to try that. I know a lot of people in the hobby that did it years ago, before we even started flying multi-rotors. You always want to cell balance your batteries. And this is looking pretty cool. I can't believe that that's actually charging my iPhone. That's awesome. A lot of chargers out there nowadays have the USB ports on them so you can charge devices, but this is really cool that this is so small. It's smaller than some of the other ISDT chargers. But a lot of cool stuff is coming from ISDT all the time, and you can check this one out in the link below if you think that's going to be something that will benefit you out in the field. Whenever I can be self-sufficient out in the field, especially if I'm a long ways away from any power source, things like this are awesome, especially on the camping trips, or taking this type of thing to an event is also a big help. All right, moving on to the next thing. This is from HDLRC. This is the Airbus F4 flight controller. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this type of format for FPV news. It's kind of an extended version of FPV news, a little more relaxed. We got some stickers in here. It's kind of like a video podcast in a way. Kind of fun. So you can actually watch and have this going in the background if you wanted to. The Airbus, and this is a 30.5 by 30.5 stack for 5-inch race quads. You could also put this on something like a 130 if you have the mounting points for it. You're not going to put this on anything below that normally. Looks like they have their harness there, the direction facing the forward. So that will be your front, and that will be your back. And they usually have the camera hookups on the very front right here. And you usually have your VTX stuff back here, because a lot of times we mount VTXs toward the back. USB port, I don't see the boot button. Where is the boot button at? Oh, there it is, right at the very bottom. Usually they have the boot button next to the USB port, so you don't have to go searching around for it. Also, if you're mounting this to your quad, the boot button would be a little bit hard to get to on this flight controller because it would be behind this post right here. So if you have another stack above this one, if you have something coming up, something's going to be in the way of you getting to that boot button. So it's kind of a tough place to get to going around that post. It should be over here or maybe next to this. Not totally sure why they did that, but on this very top rail we have the Airbus hookup there. This is cool right there. That's your signal wire for your receiver. Negative 5 volt, 3.3 volt for DSM2 receivers for Spectrum. We have BB negative. We have another ground there, BB plus. TX1, TX6 LED hookup. And we have some signal hookups here, it looks like. It's an S6, so you could run up to 6 motors on this flight controller. That's kind of cool. And the rest of this right here, this is going to be all of your signals coming up from your 4-in-1 ESC. If you're using an HDLRC 4-in-1 ESC, I do have one sitting over here that I can show you. You're just going to plug in that harness there, and it's going to take care of all these right here. In the old days, you had to solder up each individual signal wire coming from your ESC to the flight controller so that you could properly control your motors. And if you got those numbers mixed up, you'd have some screwy things going on with your quad. So over here in the very front, we have RSSI tab right there, RX3, TX3, RX6, and our camera hookups. Usually, guys, you're running 3 wires from your camera. So you have the signal wire there. It's usually going to be white or yellow. You have your red wire, which is 5 volt, and your black wire right there for your ground. But really nice looking flight controller. Everything looks really well spaced out here. And over here on this bottom rail, it looks like we have DSM right there, a PPM if you're going to use that. Most people aren't using PPM these days. And next to that, you have how you're going to power this flight controller. You're going to need to run 2 wires up coming from your PDB if you're using a PDB type setup. If you're using this harness over here, you don't need to use these 2 tabs. This is only for if you're using some type of ESCs out on the arms and you're running a traditional PDB on the bottom, not a 4-in-1 ESC. 4-in-1 ESC will most likely use this tab right here. So that's the difference between these 2. And on the very bottom, you can see again here, it looks like they have things labeled on the bottom for that harness on the top, which is super cool. And we have more labeling on the bottom, but I love the labeling that they do. Really nice silk screening on their stuff. Everything looks really crisp. In the early days of HDLRC, I don't know what factory they were using, but it seemed like a lot of their stuff was really rough, but now things have really kind of leveled up. And it's late 2018 now, so things should be looking good. Definitely since they've been doing it for years and years now. This is a pretty good looking flight controller. So also in the box you get some hardware with it, some standoffs, which is super cool. These are all plastic standoffs. And this looks like some rubber grommets for dampening. That's really awesome. A lot of companies aren't providing those. You had to source them on your own, which is really great. You have a QR code on this little card, and I love it that they include these now because this is really great for you guys. If you're trying to do a build, use your phone and go to their website and look at the schematic layout. They also give it to you right here as well, but if you want to maybe just print it out bigger, you can do that. It'll have all the information on this flight controller on this QR code link, or you can just go to their website and search for it there. Their website's hdlrc.com, and I believe this was the dual version. Maybe not. We have another flight controller here that is a dual gyro flight controller. I believe that was the Dowell. And then you have the rest of the specs here. You have that STM32 F4 gyro on board with the MPU 6000 processor, Betaflight, and OSD. Everything has OSD these days, which is great. The old days you had to put minimum OSD and use a whole separate board to get OSD on your quads. So you guys are getting spoiled these days. And we also have an onboard BEC, and that's super cool that they do have that. We have the BAT2 to 6S operational. So this is a flight controller that can handle 6S battery, which is really great, and supports also SBus, PPM, and DSMX. That's pretty sweet. And this is your schematic for the flight controller. Betaflight, your VTX camera, LED hookup, your SBus and iBus and DSMX hookups there, which I showed you before. And it looks like we have the PPM hookup down there, which I showed you, and for powering this flight controller if you're not using the 4-in-1 ESC. This is the 4-in-1 ESC harness right there. And this is the harness that comes along with it that's going to plug in. And the other side is just going to plug in to your ESCs. Just make sure you get the pins right when you're plugging it in. Very important, because when you bend these pins inside these harnesses, it's super hard to get them back straight. You can also break them off. But that's a pretty nice looking flight controller, the Airbus F4. And I do have 2 of these, so I'm definitely going to do some type of build coming up on the channel with one of these at some point. Definitely nice to always have a backup. If you're also, another tip for the new guys, if you're ordering motors or if you're doing one of your first builds, it's never a bad idea, if you have the funds, just to go ahead and order a second of anything as an extra, because sometimes things do burn up on the bench. Accidentally you solder up the wrong thing, or if you're not using a smoke stopper. The next thing I have to show you guys is this F4 20 stack, and this is a 20mm stack all in one box right here. It's kind of nice. These are really convenient if you're doing any type of micro brushless build, or you're running, you could probably even do a 4S battery on a 5-inch setup with this. 20 amp should be enough. We were running 20 amp 4S setups on 5-inch race quads a while back in the hobby, so pretty cool. They do give you a capacitor here. This is going to clean up your video signal a lot from the motor noise and ESC noise, RF that's happening here. It's going to pull this whole piece of styrofoam out, and it looks like I have a harness here, which is wire harness for your signals and powering the flight controller coming up from the ESCs. This is your miniature standoffs. These actually look like full-size standoffs, so these are a little larger. We have larger holes in these versus some of the other ones. Yep, that's kind of neat. This uses full-size standoffs, which is really convenient. A lot of us don't have the super small little tiny standoffs. They're actually about half the size of those, so really cool that they do have that. And this is the 20 amp ESC right here. You've got your harness right here, all of your motor tabs here, and everything is labeled here. Awesome. So you're going to look for, whenever you're soldering up one of these, you're going to look for motor 1. It should always be in the right rear, the M1 right there, M2 up here, 3 and 4, and then you're going to have 3 wires coming off from each motor going to these tabs. And it doesn't matter the order, because you can always go back in BL Heli, or if you're using 32-bit configurator, you can change the motor direction there, no problem. And the very back should always be where your battery wires are coming off of, and the harness should just plug in right here, just like this. And which way do they have those? They're facing down, so they go in just like that. Kind of an interesting placement there on the very back. Usually it's on the side, and then you'll tuck that under and plug that into your flight controller right here, like this. And these builds are really getting sped up a lot. Actually, you're going to bring that up like this, because your flight controller is going to be up here. So you'll also want to make sure that you have it facing the right direction. You always have that little arrow that tells you which way is the front and the back of the flight controller. And this looks like a pretty sweet setup. I like this red that they started doing on their flight controllers. Let's take a little closer look at this flight controller. Your signals are all labeled there, negative through S4 there, S1, 2, 3, and 4. And that's in accordance to your motor setup there. And on the very back, let's start at the very back and go up. Ground, 3 volt, 5 volt, camera, battery, VTX, that's going to be your VTX signal. 2 grounds here, RX3, TX3, RSSI. If you're hooking that up, you can hook that up inside Betaflight, get all your telemetry. for your telemetry connection for your receiver. 5-volt ground TX6. We have ground BB plus, BB negative, ground LEDs over here, and it looks like on the very bottom over here we have, or on the very far left, we have the 3-volt tab for DSM2 spectrum receivers. We have the boot button, which is actually next to the USB port on this one, out on the very edge, so you don't have to go around the post on this one. So this is a little bit better setup than the Airbus F4. This is where the boot button should be. And you're going to press that little gold tab down. And a lot of times I use, instead of using a metal like mini screwdriver to press that down, or my thumbnail, a lot of times I'll use a bamboo skewer. I just break off a bamboo skewer a little bit shorter, and it has a nice point on it where I can hold these down without shorting these out. So that's a little bit of a tip for you guys if you're trying to flash this. And over here on this bottom part by the harness, we have PPM there, S-Bus, ground, 5-volt, RX1, and TX1. So it looks like there's at least 3 UARTs on this little flight controller, and that's a pretty sweet looking setup. Very nice looking, clean, again with all of their silkscreen on here. You can read everything. Nothing on here is really muddy, which makes it really hard when you're soldering this stuff up. I don't know if you guys have ever seen a really poorly silkscreened flight controller, but it really sucks. But that is pretty much ready to go right there. That's a nice replacement stack, and we're going to do a video for you guys coming up on if you have something burn out. I'm going to show you how to just pull everything off and replace everything and get it going again. I think that would be a nice tutorial for you guys, because it does happen from time to time that we have to buy something completely new and start all over with a quad. And I've got 2 of those from HGLRC, so thanks to HGLRC for sending those. We'll definitely use these in a build coming up on the channel. I will show you guys how to solder these up. So I'm going to go ahead and put those to the side. But you can also check out their link down below if you want to pick up one of these. Have one of these sitting around in your shop. If you have something go out, you've got something ready to go for replacement. That's really nice from that company. Now, also new from HGLRC is this 4-in-1 BS35 ESC. Now, this is a big boy ESC for guys that are running 5-inch quads. You want to do some 6S. The constant current can be 35. It has a burst up to 45. You have BLE Heli S firmware, which is pretty standard. XT60, like I was showing you guys before, they do have the wires in here, which is super great. It does have this little piece that can go on the back side. I usually don't use these. It's just to help you sort of unplug them without holding onto the wires. Never pull on your wires. Always make sure you have a tight grip on your XT60. And we have a 30.5 by 30.5 mounting stack for this one. 14 grams, not bad for such a large ESC. They do give you stickers with a little dinosaur on it, which is kind of cool. We always love the stickers from them. And they keep changing their logo. They go back and forth from that new logo back to the dinosaur, but I kind of like the dinosaur. I always know it's them when I see the T-Rex. This is a beefy looking 4-in-1 ESC. This thing is not messing around here. The chips on this look actually really good. Let's bring that in a little bit closer so you can see that. That is some serious work there. They have really stepped up their game as far as their construction. I've seen this company come a long ways in the quality. And quality control, if you don't know about it in China, is extremely hard. It takes years to find a manufacturer that can do this level of quality. So from the very back, we have the battery terminals back here, positive, negative. Everything is set up. It's traditional to Betaflight, motor 1, 2, 3, and 4. And these are a little bit harder to see, but it is labeled 1 there. You can see 3 there, 4, and 2 there. And then your harness is on the very front. The last one we looked at, this harness was underneath the very back. So they do change up things from design to design. It's a really nice looking layout there though. Nothing on the bottom of importance for you guys. And also in the box, which is kind of cool, they do give you a capacitor, and that's going to solder right up to the battery terminal on the back with your battery leads, or you can run a wire up and have your capacitor hiding in your stack somewhere. Some people say to use the just a couple extra wires to solder to these. They say that it just works better. A lot of times I'm too lazy to do that. I just solder them right onto the battery terminals, and it seems to work just fine. You have your standoffs in there, your harness, your XT60 there, and your wires. And we also have this little schematic here, which is super cool. I'll bring that in a little bit closer. And this is awesome for if you're just doing your first build. This is really great. You see this here, what I was talking about before with the capacitor soldered right to your battery terminal. And that's going to share the same tab with your battery wires here. So they don't show your battery wires soldered up, but you're going to put this all on the same tab there. Red to red, black to black there. They have your motor layout here, which is just like I showed you before, 1, 2, 3, 4, just like that. You're going to have right turn rear. Front left is going to be right turn, so diagonals is going to be rights. If you're running props out, it's going to be the other direction. But this is a traditional, so this would be props in configuration. Props out would be the opposite, so this back one would be turning left. 1, 2, 3, 4, right there. So I will definitely put the links down below for both of these, the Airbus F4 and this ESC configuration, because the cool thing is that you can use these together if you want to use the Airbus F4 with this 35 amp ESC combo. They will play together. So let me just go ahead and grab the harness that was included with this one and show you that they do indeed work together. So we've got the post facing up there. I'm just going to plug that in, and this will plug right into the ESCs here. And these are pins down, so we're going to do pins down there. And the harness is on the very top here, so you would move this back like this, and you'll do this type of setup right here. So if you want to buy these together, you can definitely use these together, which is cool because these are all interchangeable, which is really great. So I'll put the links down below for both of those, and those are both ready for a build. So now I have a couple of these HGLRC PDB LED strip combos, and I think you guys are going to like these. These are super cool. I've shown some night flyers on the channel before, and it's really neat to see a race quad in the air after dark. It looks really, really awesome. The coolest thing about some of these LED setups is the fact that they are plug and play. So once you get this and you hook this up to your quad, if you have the LEDs go out at all, you can buy new ones and just plug them right in. So that's pretty cool. We're going to go ahead and open this up, and I'll show you what's included with this one. Just going to go ahead and use my trusty blade there. I don't want to cut too much on this bag because I don't want to destroy anything inside here. All right, looks like there is a lot of stuff in here. There's one of the LED strips with the plug and play cable, and it has plugs on both ends, so you don't have to solder this. That's really nice. Looks like they do include a capacitor, which is awesome. XT60, and let's see if they have the wires there. Yes, they do. Very nice. They have the battery wires, and here is your harness for going up to your flight controller, whichever one you choose to use with this. And it would be extra cool if they gave you 5 of these. They do give you 4 in this pack. I think it would be cool if they gave us 5, mainly because you might break one. You might have one go out, and we'll have to see on their website with that QR code that's on the front right here if they do have extra ones. I'm sure you can buy an extra one of these. If you decide to get this kit, I'd recommend buying an extra one when you do buy this kit, mainly because you might break one, and it's cool to just be able to unplug it and plug in a new one. Let's go ahead and take a look at these. Open these up, show you guys a little closer up. Oh, this is cool. They give you clear heat shrink to go over them because they're LEDs. If you put black, then it wouldn't work, would it? That's pretty sweet. It's a little bit longer, just a little bit longer than the LEDs themselves. That's sweet. And a little bit of heat shrink is really going to give you a nice glow. Man, those LEDs look huge. These are going to be super bright. So you can see your ground 5-volt there and your LED. These might be configurable inside Betaflight, so you can change colors. That is awesome. And there is 3 wires there. Just going to plug in just like that. And that one is going to plug in the other end on your PDB. Let's go ahead and take a look at the PDB up close. Love opening up new stuff. It's always so much fun. It's like Christmas morning. Everything new. Look at that. That is a really nice looking piece of hardware. Wow. When I saw this on their site, I recommended to get one in to show you guys because I thought it was so neat. That is really nice. So your LEDs plug in on this side right here. So if you have your PDB set up like this, if you're using that Airbus F4, you could run the harness up from here. And this is so easy. You can just plug in your wire harness right here. Make sure the pins are up. Looks like they have the up configuration there. Just double check again that I have that right. It's pretty tight. It's actually a really tight connection, but that's the way it goes like that. So your signal, 5-volt, and your ground there. And the wire looks long enough to run out on even maybe something like a 7-inch arm on a race quad. That's pretty cool. If you do a long range quad, that is really neat. And you want to put something underneath these. You don't want this coming in contact with your race quad frame because these little tabs right here will short everything out if it touches carbon, because carbon is conductive. And that is so cool. I just want to open up the rest of them right now and plug them all in. But you also have on this PDB, this is a very new school looking PDB, by the way. It does have these extensions past, just barely past where your posts are going to go on your 30x30 mount. And primarily this is going to be for a 5-inch race quad. You got your battery terminals in the back there and 2 extra little spots, which you could use if you're using anything extra. You need extra power to come up to something else. You do have those 2 little tabs. That's cool. And you have your, let's see, in the very back right here, starting in the very back, negative, positive there. And on the very bottom, oh, this is cool. There's your signal for your ESC. So let's look at the very bottom, how they have this set up here. And this would actually be the top. So number 1 there, number 2, number 3, and number 4. And the way this is going to work is the red and black wire is going to come to your negative and positive here, and then that little white wire usually coming from your ESC out on the arm is going to go to this one right here. So this is pretty cool. And here as well, same thing here. And you also have extra terminals here. You have something for 12-volt on one side, so you would do your positive and negative there. If you want to run a 5-volt something, whatever that might be, you could do it from this side. That is so neat. They give you extras here. So you could even run more LEDs on this if you wanted to. You could snip these off and you wouldn't be able to configure them possibly, but it looks like they do have 2 extra spots, which I love. That's really awesome. And you have 2 extra terminals here. So they really did think about everything here. We have another 5-volt here. This is crazy. They have so many extra hookups on this, and an extra 12-volt right there. So your red wire and your negative wire there. This is a pretty amazing PDB. And everything is labeled down here. This is also really cool right here. if this harness breaks off, you can just solder these directly to these 3 tabs right here. That is extra cool, because I have had these break off of other flight controllers before. These are almost impossible to solder back on. So it's really cool that they did that. That is extra cool. And we also have the same thing here for this harness. If this harness fell off, you could actually physically solder on things right here for your flight controller, going up to your flight controller. You could actually, that is so cool that they have that. So they were thinking about damage. If you had one of these break off, you could just solder it right there behind it. That is too cool. So this is a pretty cool value, and something kind of neat that I haven't seen a lot of other companies doing lately is something for LEDs. And wow, that's extra cool. So this would be primarily for something if you had ESCs out on the arm, because this is one hardcore PDB, and it is able to run up to 6S, which is really, really great. And they include all the things that you need to get that going. That's a really good value, and I'll definitely share the link down below for that one as well. And I have 2 of these, so I'm super excited to have 2 of them. All right, so now you're looking at the newest, latest and greatest props from Dowell Prop. You can check them out on foxhero.com. I will post a link directly to these props down below. Fox Hero Technology. Let's go ahead and open these up. These are the 5249C props, the T5249Cs. Just going to take a little closer look at these, and I'll compare these to the other Cyclones that I've been flying to show you the difference in these. And the 5051s were the ones that I was flying a lot on quads that I want to get a longer battery life out of. If you're flying something like this, you're probably going to get more of a traditional type of flight time around the 3 to 3.5 minutes. If you're really punching it, you're going to get like 2.5, but that's for crazy people. So this is following the trend that we're seeing right now in a lot of prop manufacturers. This is really great. This is a low profile pitch. So we have a very low pitch right here, a little bit wider chord right here. Since we do have a lower pitch on this particular prop, it's not going to draw quite as much amps out of your power setup and from your battery. So this is a huge upgrade for a nice quick power, but not a lot of battery sag. So if you have a really high pitch prop, you're going to have more battery sag really fast. And it's very annoying to have a new race quad, you put a brand new battery on it, you do your first punch out and your battery drops down to like 11 volt. And when you back off the throttle a little bit, it'll usually go back to more of a resting voltage during your normal flight throttle, which might be like 50% or maybe 55 to 60%. But if you're racing, also this would be a nice prop because it's going to give you a little more control with your battery levels. And the low pitch is kind of, like I said, the trend right now. Low pitch props are where it's at because a lot of people want a little longer flight times these days, and a lot of people are tired of battery sag. So especially for your older batteries that you have, you will see your performance on your older batteries dramatically decrease over a time period. And it depends on a lot of factors, whether they're exposed to cold or extreme heat, or if you're overflying them, or if you're quick charging them. There can be a lot of factors that can really hurt a battery. So in cell voltage, like I said, try to always cell balance your batteries. This is a big benefit to the longevity of your battery. But this looks like a nice wide cord in the center, a little bit narrower toward the middle where it does connect, and kind of a nice taper out at the end. I've been seeing this tapered end happen on tons of props over the last year and a half. We haven't seen bullnose props in a long time, and a lot of people got away from using bullnose props. In the very beginnings of freestyle FPV, we were using a lot of bullnose props, mainly because we wanted that hardcore boost, that huge punch out. But what was happening is we were just killing batteries with those bullnose, and even though they were extra durable, And Dowell props probably sold tons of those bullnose props. They were also extra durable, and that's the thing about Dowell props, is they're crazy durable. These props are really, really rigid, and I've had them bend before. I just bend them back and continue flying for the day with the same set of props. And that's the cool thing about Dowell props, is they are super durable. But they're going away from the bullnose, which is great. Now we're seeing a very smooth and efficient prop. So be a very interesting freestyle prop to try out. Tri-blades are always great for freestyle. They also have, I believe, another version of these coming out as well. I think there's 2 versions of Cyclones coming out. Harvey, you didn't send me that second version. I was hoping to try those out, but maybe in the future. So I have red ones here, and I have a couple sets of the lime green ones, which I'll just go ahead and show you those a little bit closer up. And I'll shove these back in the bag after I'm done. Those are the lime green ones. And they also have the Popo setup here. So if you're running the Popo props, these are compatible with the Popo. This is a quick release on and off configuration for motors for your props. This is pretty cool. You see those 3 little dots right there? That's what that's for. And on the very bottom, there's that standard hole through the bottom. So you can use these for Popos or regular motor stems, no problem. Either style motors, these will be compatible for. But like I always say, props are everything on your race quads. If you guys run stock props, a lot of times from the Chinese factories, they just kind of throw stuff at the wall with the prop design. And these guys are actually producing and testing these on race quads before they send them out. A lot of the stock props probably haven't been flight tested, and it's just some random mold that they threw in the box. Now, I've seen some better quality coming out with some of those kits, but I always tell you guys to avoid the stock props that come in the box. Just kind of toss those to the side or use them as strictly as trainer props. When you do get to flying acro, a really nice prop makes all the difference in the vibration on the quad, and it really cleans up a lot of your camera view. So if you see a lot of jitters going on, it's likely due to the fact that you have a really crappy prop on there. So choosing Cyclones or a really good quality prop, it makes all the difference for your racing or your freestyle experience. And now if you're looking for the best VTXs on the market, some of the hottest, most badass VTXs out there are made by AKK. If you don't know about AKK, now you know. They make some really awesome stuff. Those are the guys that came out with that 1200 milliwatt transmitter that I was telling you guys about before. It would get you, I mean, you could go over 3 miles with that thing. It's totally insane. However, that is illegal in the US, so they backed off, and they're doing something that they can now sell in the USA. And we're allowed to do 1 watt, which is great. So 1000 milliwatt, we're allowed to do that. This is the FX3 Ultimate, and this is the predecessor to the original Ultimate, which was 1200, but this one's only doing 1000. And I'll just open this up. Hopefully it's in the box. There it is. And this one is actually smaller than the original one. This is a 20 by 20 stack mount, and I believe it's 1000. We'll just double check. I might be totally wrong about that. This might be just the 20 by 20 Ultimate. It does come with that extra post there, which is great. I'm just going to move this out of the way and show you guys this a little bit closer up. The MMCX connector makes things a lot better. A lot of the smaller ones were using the IPEX connectors before, and they were popping off a lot. You see there's one right there in the front of it. So they do have 2 options on this, which is really insane. That's actually pretty awesome, and I've never seen a company do that before. Give you 2 options there. If you want to run that tiny connector, these are the ones that pop off notoriously when you're having a hard crash, and then you go to fly again, and all of a sudden you can't see. I can't see. It's because this popped off. Very annoying. I do like the MMCX connector a lot better. Now this one is a straight on design, coming straight out, and this will go to the back of the quad. You can either mount it at an angle like this, or you can do some TPU mount in the very back if you have a 3D printer, or you can do a vertical mount. I don't usually suggest a vertical mount because that's where you have your antennas breaking off at the SMA connector point. And that looks like a female SMA right there with all of your hardware for connecting it to the top of your quad. You're just going to bolt that right through. And you can also use this hardware right here for the TPU mount. You're going to screw it down to. Your antenna is going to screw on there. Let's take a little bit closer look at the layout on this board. They have all the wires coming off right here, which is extra great. And we'll look at the schematic just to make sure that I have everything right here. But also you have your power selection right here. You should be able to change things like band, your channels, and your power right there. And this looks like it's labeled the version 1.0. So this is the first version here. And at the very bottom right here, we have 7 to 24 volt, positive and negative wire right here. And then we have V1, which is your video wire, and that's usually going to be yellow, or it can be white. And they have all these twisted together, but you can untwist them. We have ground, 5 volt, and we have smart audio right here. Pretty sweet. TBS wire right there. So that's going to go to your smart audio port. And then you'll be able to access this guy from your transmitter. Change your power, your bands, and your channels. That's pretty awesome. Really sweet setup there. And the instruction manual that comes with this one is right here. And let's check this out. Let's see if this one is running 200 milliwatt. That would be plenty. Oh wow, we're actually running 600 milliwatt on this one. All the way up to 600. That will get you out there over a mile for sure. 400, 225 watt. And they also do pit mode, which is super awesome. OSD configuration using smart audio. Super sweet. Thumbs up there for that. And the voltage range is 7 to 24 volts. You could actually run this on a 4S battery straight to the terminal. I wouldn't really recommend doing that, but you also have a 5 volt output, which would be these extra wires here. So you notice how it has 2 sets of black and red wires there. So you do have a 5 volt output on this, which is kind of cool. If you wanted to power a camera or something like that, you can sort of run this over to your camera if you wanted to. But most of flight controllers these days, you're going to run your camera power wire straight to your flight controller. You have your frequency table on this side, how to get into pit mode, which is cool. You can press the button for 12 seconds on the VTX, and all 7 LEDs will turn off, the light on again to exit pit mode. So do not try to fly in pit mode because you'll go about 10 feet and then you'll lose all signal. This will only allow you to sit there in the pits at a race and configure your channels and your bands just enough so you can see to do that and not disturb other people. That's a really nice option. You're only running 0.1 milliwatt there, so keep in mind you're not going anywhere else except the picnic table with that one. But built-in control button, channel select, which is pretty normal. It looks like we have 5 bands including race band, A, B, E, F, and looks like they have some of these blacked out. Those might be illegal channels. And blue LED stands for channel 1. Short press to change 8 channels. So just a quick press will change your channels. Long press should get you into change the power mode if you're not using smart audio. And your band select looks like 2 seconds there. And normally for the power select, it was like 10 seconds, but this one looks like it's 4 seconds. And then your LED is going to flash green LED only light for 25 milliwatts. So if you're wanting to run 600, make sure that it doesn't show green right there. Green LED flickers once, and then it says it won't light on, whatever that means. That's Chinglish right there. So 600 is pretty sweet on a 20 by 20, and I haven't seen a lot of 600 20 by 20 stack mount VTXs, so this one is pretty awesome. I'll put the link down below if you guys want to check these out, and please do support these guys because they are producing some seriously awesome hardware. Now I have another one here that I needed to show you. This is the Oscar's Backpack Vtx. This one is something for like a micro brushless if you want to do any type of MMCX connector antenna on this. This does come with a dipole that will come right off the top, and this one also, I believe, Might have smart audio. I don't have the manual available for this one, but this one is only a few grams in weight. It is super, super tiny. You have your button there for changing your channels, bands, and power. And this one is running up to 200 milliwatts. So if you want to run 200 milliwatt on something like a super tiny little brushless micro, you can do that. And it looks like the TBS solder point is right at the very bottom on that. This thing is so small, it doesn't want to focus. So we have TBS at the very bottom. V1 is your video in coming from your camera. Ground, 5 volt, and ground. So it looks like they might have an extra 5 volt power source there if you need to power your camera off of this thing. So really tiny piece of hardware, and looks like it's also very well made. And it does have mounting points here at the top and the bottom, which is a pretty sweet looking piece of hardware. And that's called the Oscar's Backpack Vtx. And their website is akktech.com if you want to check out some of these. Highly recommended, because I put these on everything. I put them on my micro brushless. I put the larger AKK transmitters on my wings, which do very well, and I've never had them burn out. Some of the larger ones do have voltage protection also, which is super awesome. This is the predecessor to that AKK 1200 like I was telling you guys about before. This is a long-range version with built-in DVR and OSD support for configuration for smart audio. This little guy will run the 1000 like I was telling you about. Actually, big guy. This is a 30 by 30 stack mount, long range DVR combo. This thing is insane right here. If you want the ultimate power, this is the one to get right now. I can't say enough about their hardware. It's really awesome. Look at that close up. This is an awesome piece of machinery. And you can get into the menus by these buttons right here. You can also change the power in the band and your channel. And we can, it doesn't appear to have pit mode. 25, 200, 600, and 1000. One button frequency and power setup. OSD configuration, smart audio inside Betaflight, of course. We have 7 to 26 volt input with the 5 volt output for your camera, so it has that extra 5 volt wires on there. And it also does have a mic on board right here. And the Oscar's Backpack one also has a mic. If you look right here, this one has a mic, as well as that little 20 by 20 has a mic right here as well on board. So all of these have a mic for guys that want to record motor noise or your environmental noise. It's kind of nice to be able to hear what's going on your quad. If you have some strange noise happen, you know that something bad's about to happen. We have channel configuration. A red light stands for channel 1, short press to change channels, obviously. And there should be a layout here as well, so it lets us know what these buttons do. So according to the MMCX connector, if it's over on this side right here, we have the LEDs here. We have a micro SD card slot. That's for recording your video straight from this transmitter. Really neat. So this isn't a backup to your goggle DVR, which is really, really nice. We have cable connector solder pads on here that are already soldered up. This is really nice that everything is already all soldered up. Some companies don't do that for you, so that's another way you guys are being spoiled a little bit here. 36 millimeter stackable, and that's your standard. So it looks like 36 millimeter out to the edges. It would be 30.5 from mount to mount. Very standard. Button 1 and your DVR indicator. Button 1 is here, button 2 is here, and then this little red light right here is going to blink and let you know that you're recording. And you should be able to set this up so that you have it automatically record inside the smart audio. You can go in and have it automatically start recording when the quad is powered up, and it will also save the video if your quad is unexpectedly disconnected from the power source. So it's cool. You won't get like a truncated AVI file. This is another really nice piece of hardware. Let's take a little closer look at this. Up at the very top, We have a 3-volt tab on there as well, and it looks like your RSI tab at the very top right here. And it does show you the labels here for your tabs here. We have smart audio right here for TBS, and we have video here, ground, 5-volt ground, and your power source that you're going to be powering this to. This is where you're going to solder this up to your flight controller, and this will be your extra power source right here if you need to power anything else 5-volt, like a camera or something. So those two right there, and then your video source right there. That's usually going to go to your flight controller, or if you're doing a splice, over to your camera. Pretty sweet looking upgraded version of their original bad boy, the 1200. So now this one is legal in the United States. And let's look in the box and see what else is in here. And this is our MMCX connector, which is nice. This is not a dipole. If you're running something like long range, I don't recommend using a dipole. Use something like the pagoda antenna or a traditional cloverleaf mushroom antenna. And that looks like a female SMA. So you'll need a male SMA connector to screw into the top of this. And all your hardware is right there for mounting through your quad or your TPU mount. So some pretty cool stuff coming out from AKK, and a lot of really nice hardware for a VTX setup on anything like a quad or any type of long range wing. Now also guys, I haven't really talked about these much before on the channel. You guys have to know about these. These are buzzers that will work with your quad. If you want to put this external buzzer on your quad, it will still beep out in the field somewhere down a mountainside. If you crash into a tree and your battery gets disconnected from your quad, this will still beep. This is great because this will save you in that type of crash. And I don't know how many times I've crashed. I've actually, it's happened to me quite a few times where I've had the battery come disconnected, and I had a hard time, really hard time finding my quad. And this is the full speed version. You guys can check out Lewis's version of this smart buzzer. Really cool because these are about, I think they're around $10. Okay, so let's look at this a little bit closer up. This is where the battery on the bottom is connected. You see that little LiPo right there? That's a 1S LiPo that's going to power this. If your battery does become disconnected, it's going to beep and beep and beep until you walk up to it and push this button to turn it off. You also have an LED on here which flashes, which might help you see it on a darker day. And the wires do run right there, your negative wire here and your positive wire there. So you're not going to use this terminal, it's already being used. This one is a blank one. You have your ground source right here. This looks like the 5-volt up at the very top. So you're going to run this on a 5-volt tab off of your flight controller. And that is awesome that they've done this. This is a really cool setup. And the battery will charge from your flight controller while your quad is running. So as long as you run your quad, you're going to continuously have a full charge battery on here. So it shouldn't be a problem, and it will not drain the battery when it gets turned off. So a really smart design and very nominal weight to put on your quad. Well worth it. This one's not quite as loud as the big brother from VFly that I have sitting to the left of it. This is the VFly Finder. Never lose your drone again, it says. You can check them out at vflydrone.com. This is a Mac Daddy big boy buzzer, and if you want something that you can hear across a football field, it would be this one. Look at this. It looks like some kind of horn on top of a bass bin. This guy is going to really kick out a really loud signal. It does have a push button here on the side of it for programming it. You've got your power source right here, and that's going to be 3 wires. And let's look at this a little bit closer up so you guys can see this. And I'll turn it up this way. You can see the control button right there that will turn it on or off. You can disarm it if you want. The buzzer wire right there. And this battery is much bigger on this one. You can find out more information on the specs if you'd like to go to their website. You can check that out again at vflydrone.com. And this one, the Full Speed has their website on here, but they don't have a QR code on theirs. But they give a full manual with this one. So they did a little bit of extra work here, how to activate it. It will be activated after the main battery is connected. If you want to do it manually, it says while the main battery is connected to make the alarm by the remote controller. So you should be able to hook this up to your traditional switch as well and use it like a regular buzzer. Both of these will do that, by the way, if you want to set that up in beta flight. After the main battery is disconnected, it will enter into the pre-alarm mode and beep in a low volume for 30 seconds. If you want to continue flying, connect it to another battery and it'll stop alarming. So if you're sitting on the bench, this thing, once you unplug it, it's going to sit there and beep. If you don't want that to happen, you need to do one of two things. Disconnect the main battery and hold down the disarm button on it for 1 to 5 seconds as you're disconnecting the battery, which is totally fine. Disconnect the main battery and then connect the main battery for 3 to 5 seconds and then disconnect it again. I would probably do the first version of that, which would probably be a little easier. Now you can charge it when the main battery is connected. It will be charged automatically, like I said about the other one, and it will stop charging once it's fully charged. So it's not going to overcharge and start to swell, but you want to keep an eye on these little batteries. If they do start to swell, this can burst into flames. So be very careful with something like an extra battery running on your race quad. You definitely, this is going to be pretty susceptible to heat and heat damage. If you're running it in the hotter months, during the winter months, it'll be totally fine. But it is an awesome option, a way to not lose your quad or your wing out there on the tougher crashes, because as long as this is sitting somewhere near your quad, you're going to find it. And if it knows that the power is disconnected from the quad, it's going to automatically start beeping. And this one is going to be the much louder version of the Full Speed one, but for typical micro brushless, this would work on micro brushless. You could run either one of these on a 5-inch race quad, and this is probably what I would recommend for any type of wing or airplane setup. Even if you had to put this inside the airplane fuselage, you would still be able to hear this one beeping across the field. And even more new stuff, if you want to get the flight controller out there right now that is super hot and flies like probably like a supercar, the F7 is amazingly responsive and precise, and it seems to run really, really quiet when you have a really nice setup on a quad with some smooth cyclone props. The Dowell RC Rocket 4-in-1 ESC is a really badass ESC setup. It's running, I believe it was 35 amp on here. Let's just take a little closer look at this. Really nice packaging from Dowell. Let's go ahead and pop that out. That was kind of rough. This is a plastic insert, which probably should be foam, but that is recyclable. They have looks like your signal wire layout right there, and we have the QR code to their Facebook, which is super cool if you guys want to ask them questions. Ground VCC, which is going to be your main current. The current there, and current sensor, motor 1, 2, 3, and 4 there. Pretty cool. And let's see here. We have a harness, capacitor, cleaning up your video, and we have 4 rubber grommets here for dampening, which is always really nice. And this would be for your harness, which will just plug in right here. This thing is a serious piece of hardware as well. Looks like the pins are on the bottom there, on the very top, facing up. This is the top of the board right here. Man, this is another hardcore piece of engineering right here. Look at all the chips in there. It looks like they do have some conformal coating over top of this, so this could be slightly waterproofed. If you see that shine on any of your electronics that come in to your shop, that is conformal coating, which is really great. And this would actually be the top right here. So this faces up. battery. You can solder on your battery terminals, your wires on the top or the bottom there. So they give you two options. Same thing with the motor wire tabs. And they have these labeled on the very top of this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Traditional Betaflight setup. Pretty sweet. This is all your signal wire stuff, which will be probably labeled in their instructions like they show here. So if you're soldering these wires up, you know where to put things. Ground battery current, VCC for your battery voltage, and M1 for motor, and so on through M4 for your motor signals. 3.6S, really nice. And this one's actually the 50 amp version. This is awesome. So this is a really huge ESC. This thing is not messing around. I thought it was the 30 amp or 40 amp. Yeah, it's the 50 amp version. That's sweet. Current sensor support, D-Shot 1200, PWM, which we're definitely not going to be using. Multi-shot, not using that. One shot, not using that. Going to be using D-Shot on this one. No information on the inside. And like I said, that QR code to their Facebook helps a lot. Facebook is really nice because a lot of these companies do respond on their Facebook these days. And that is probably one of the nicer looking 4-in-1 ESCs I've seen come into my shop. They always do a really nice job on the jacket design, but where it gets really cool is the F722 dual flight controller. So dual gyro on board on this one. This one is a really badass flight controller. And they've got this QR code on the very back here. You can scan that if you wanted to maybe even enlarge this on your screen. You might be able to scan this on YouTube, but you can just check them out at dowellrcmodel.com. And we have the MPU 6000 on here, so this baby might be running 32K on here. You can change it to 8K if you see that your quad is too sensitive or flipping over into the ground and you can't figure out why. Sometimes if you switch back inside Betaflight down to 8K gyro setting inside the configuration tab, that will actually clean up some extra vibrations that you had going on, because the 32K might be too sensitive for your build. And I have actually fixed quads doing that before when it wasn't copacetic with my quad. So you also have some rubber grommets in there, which is always something you want to do, especially if you're running something like F7. Look at this hardware. This is super clean. How much impressive stuff have we seen on the channel today? It's crazy how clean stuff is looking. Since 2 years ago, stuff was quite raw. And everybody is stepping up their manufacturing. And prices are not going up. So this is a really, really nice board. So this would be for somebody who is wanting to build a 6S setup. You can use this harness in conjunction with that 4-in-1 ESC I showed earlier. And all your wires should line up the same exact way here as these are. I'll just show you that there, that these are exactly the same. So if you bought these separate, you could use, just take this off. This is for if you have some other flight controller, and then you can just plug this one into here and it will work. So that's pretty sweet. Obviously it's the same company, they should work together. So we have our board direction right there, and we have several different rails, and looking for the boot button on here, see where that is. Cut. And the boot button is located directly next to the USB port for Betaflight, which I love. And this is an actual button. The only problem with these is they can get knocked off. And if that gets knocked off, it's almost impossible to solder this back on. That might be one drawback of this particular design. I do like the little gold buttons. They're harder to push, but these can break off from time to time. So I've had these fall off when I touched them the first time because the solder wasn't good from the factory. Never from this particular company, but that's just something, a little tip to let you guys know that that does happen. And on the very bottom here, let's start on this very bottom right here. I can't believe this is a dual gyro setup here. Very cool. F7, 5-volt ground LED, negative B, which is for your buzzer, +, positive B, RX4, TX4. And on the side rail up here, we have 2 grounds, and those are square. And a lot of times you see a square tab for your ground option, and a lot of the positive ones are going to be these oval shaped ones. So 3.3 on the top rail, 5 volt on that outer rail, RX2, RC, TX2, TX1. Let's see, that looks like E6. So that might be for motor 6, E5. We have TX4, ground, and we have 2 tabs here for selecting your VTX power there, 5 volt or 10 volt. So most likely you're going to do the 10 volt. If you need to swap that over to make it 5 volt, you can do that, and that will change the power. So we have the VTX there. Looks like we have, look a little bit closer here. That looks like that might be the positive wire there, because it is a round tab. So we have ground there as well. So you would do your VTX wires here, negative 5 volt, and your video signal wire is going to go where it says VTX, TX5 and RX5 right there. On the very front, like I always tell you, that's usually where your camera comes in. So we have the F cam right there, and we have another cam port right there. If you're hooking up a traditional camera, you're just going to put it on these 3 tabs right here. So you have your 5 volt, and it looks like it is configurable between 5 volt and 10 volt. So that's extra fancy right there. You have the option to change and bring up the voltage. Normally 5 volt will power some cameras, but the Falcor, I believe the Falcor are actually 7 volt and above, so you'll need to change that to 10 volt. Just take a solder remover tool. You can get those on Amazon, and take that solder dab off, and you want to put more solder on the other side and bridge the middle port to that far right port right there, and then you'll have 10 volt for any larger 7 to like 24 volt type of cameras. And looking at the bottom, we do have options to solder things from the bottom. So if you wanted to keep all your wires on the bottom and keep it really nice and clean on top, they give you that option too. It's just not all labeled on the bottom. If you're an OCD type of builder, you can do that. They are labeled on the back side right here, which is great. And over on the side right here is where you have 2 extra ports right there for your mounting of your boot button right there. But a pretty sweet looking flight controller, and this one's going to be very responsive, and you should be able to fly this on the stock PIDs that come with this one. It's going to perform really, really well. If you do have issues on 32K, like I said, drop it down to 8K, and that might clean up some of the sort of spin of death that you get on the ground. So that's one way to clean that up. But really nice piece of hardware, and really nice ESC combo. If you wanted to build the ultimate quad, grab 2 of these from our friends over at Dowell RC. This is really sweet stuff right here. And last but not least, guys, we have the Tattoo Fun Fly batteries. You guys probably saw these before, but I'm showing you these again a little bit closer up. They do look like decent quality, and they are, again, like I said, that economy battery that's coming out. I think it's a really good deal right now to be able to get a 4S 1300 for like 18 bucks. It's kind of crazy. I always put the soft stuff on my batteries, and then the harder Velcro on the quad. And a lot of times I run bottom mount. I know some people don't like that, but there's a lot of people out there that do bottom mount. And if you want to do top mount, you can also do that depending on the quad frame. They have the barcode on that side, which doesn't do us any good, but this battery looks nice and fresh, and so far is not showing me any type of swelling, and I have been flying this one all week. So this one's testing out to be a pretty good battery. I was a little bit concerned about the price. I mean, $18 for a 4S 1300. I was expecting these to fail, and I'm going to keep flying these on the channel and on all the different race demos and on quads and wings that we have coming up. So we're going to see how these pan out over the next month or two. Is that $18 price point going to hold up to a longevity test? We're going to find out for the fun flies, but I would go ahead and pick up a couple of these anyway, just because they're so stupid cheap. But 100C rating on there is really great. And if you charge these at 1C on your battery charger, that's what they do recommend. They don't recommend charging these over 2C. I know a lot of you guys will quick charge things at 2C, but not always the safest thing. And just be cautious of charging them over 1.5. You're just kind of pushing it, and it's usually not a good idea to push your battery. So if you're in a hurry, maybe just charge your batteries at the field with one of the ISDT type chargers, and you should have a really healthy battery if you do keep cell balance charging these. But you can check these out in the link below, guys. And that just about does it for this video. And I've really been taking my time on this video so you guys can get some sort of extra tips and things as we go along with some of these little mini reviews and the FPV news type of videos. More information that I can share with you guys, especially the new guys coming into the hobbies. That's what Drone Camps is all about. It's sort of a camp style channel, and we kind of camp out together and learn as much as we possibly can. But wherever you're watching in the world, I want to say thanks for subscribing. Thanks for watching and supporting me on the channel. And thanks for supporting all of us that are trying to make these videos for you guys in the FPV community, because we love to share our knowledge with you guys and give back to the community with a lot of the giveaways. If you want to comment on this video down below, this one will also count for our November drawing for the Baby Hawk R Pro. We're giving that away, and we're also giving away that IH3 long range sub 250 gram 1080p recording drone. Super awesome drone, and the drawing is coming up soon, guys, so get in on that one. I'm also going to announce new drawings coming up for November, so stay tuned for that. I have some wicked stuff to give away in November. I'm going to probably give something a little bit better than I did in October away in November, so it's going to be pretty exciting, and I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not going to tell you anymore because I'll start to spill the beans a little bit. But thanks again, guys, and I really appreciate you watching the channel. We're going to do some more killer stuff coming up next week, so stay tuned again on the Drone Camps channel. Check out my Patreon. Please support my videos and my time and that I put into this. I would really appreciate it. I want to get up to that 200 Patreon level, so that's my goal for right now. Trying to set goals for myself on the channel, and I would love to get it back up to that $1,000 support level, and that would really just make my year and really help me out a lot with my income and all the stuff that we're buying to keep the channel going. But thanks again for your support, guys. Always really appreciate you guys. I will see you on the next one. Take care, and happy FPV, guys. I'm Justin Davis. I'll see you on the next one.